Welcome to Jumpseat Therapy, brought to you by Active Mind Counseling. Jumpseat Therapy is a mindfulness program designed for flight attendants and other airline professionals to help recognize and navigate burnout while rediscovering your passion for flying. Crossing borders. This module is about boundaries. We will explore the types of boundaries and begin to define boundaries with our colleagues, passengers, family, technology, and career. Ready to begin? You're working a 3-day domestic trip. It's very productive, with barely any sit time and short layovers. You really don't care where you are going, as this trip is all about the productivity. You're sharing the jump seat with a flight attendant who has a skincare side hustle. Every time you're strapped in, she starts to ask you questions about your skincare routine, your hydration habits, and even starts making suggestions based on her observations. After the first duty day, she asks you for your number under the guise of staying connected for trip disruptions. Your intuition says not to give it to her, but you also don't want to seem uncooperative. As soon as the trip is over, you start receiving texts promoting her skincare line. As crew, we often run into situations where we make decisions against our intuition because we want to appear cooperative. This is true especially when we're with the same crew for multiple days. Being literally shoulder to shoulder with someone whom you have awkward energy with can make a 3-day trip seem like a 3-year trip. While sometimes we experience small annoyances, other times can lead to larger problems like safety risks, sexual harassment, and more. What are boundaries? In general, boundaries are limits we set to define our relationships. They can be instructions on how we want to be treated. Knowing and maintaining our boundaries can improve our satisfaction in those relationships and, in the case of career boundaries, prevent burnout. Boundaries can be described as either rigid, flexible, or porous. Imagine the airflow knobs in the passenger service unit. A completely closed vent does not allow air through. It's literally a rigid boundary. A wide-open vent allows all the air through like a porous boundary. A flexible boundary is like your hand that continually adjusts the vent to your comfort. The type of boundaries we have will vary situationally and relationally. For example, you may be more open to talk about a health concern with your partner or best friend, but not with a colleague. Conversely, you may have no issue sharing the exploits of your Vegas layover with your colleagues, but not the passengers. To help you understand your own boundaries, we'll explore several life domains and assess our boundaries in each one. Boundaries with colleagues. To assess your boundaries with your coworkers, let's explore how you interact with them. Ask yourself, if a colleague insists, will I perform tasks outside of my position's duties? Will I join the crew on layover excursions? Do I answer questions about my personal life? Do I talk about my relationships on the jump seat to colleagues I just met? There are no right or wrong answers to these questions. Rather, consider how your answers align with your values you identified in a previous module. How about boundaries with passengers? We encounter so many interesting people each duty day. We're trained to be friendly and approachable, so reflect on these questions. Will I bend the rules for passengers rather than disappoint them? Do I look up passengers on social media? Do I talk about my relationships or personal life with passengers? By the way, we've included several questionnaires in the Worksheets tab for you to explore your boundaries in each of these domains. Boundaries with family or partner. While it is good to be open and honest with your family, porous boundaries can lead us to trouble at work. Ask yourself, if my family calls while passengers are aboard, will I answer? Do I need to check in with my partner after each flight? When I talk to my partner about my trip, do I hide details because I'm worried how they will react? Boundaries with technology. These boundaries are especially important in today's connected world. Consider how often you check social media or doom scroll. Do you read the comments even though you know they will make you angry? When out with friends, are you checking your social media? Is your phone the first thing you grab when you wake up and the last thing you put down at night? Finally, let's explore boundaries with your career. Even if we are passionate about flying and travel, it's important to assess your boundaries. Having boundaries that are against our values can lead to burnout. How many times do you check open time? On your days off, are you still reading your airline's social media? Do you only take the minimum time off between trips? Is it hard to have a non-airline related conversation with someone? After assessing your boundaries in these various areas, it is up to you to decide if you want to keep them or change them. If you have rigid boundaries in one arena, but find it is causing you problems or missed opportunities, maybe it is time you open them up a little. Conversely, if you find that you've had porous boundaries or even consider yourself a pushover, it's time to start saying no. In an occupation where you are expected to problem solve to improve the passenger experience, we can often get into the trap of being a chronic people pleaser. Even when requests are against our better judgment or even company policy, we may give in just to avoid conflict or being perceived negatively. Chronic people-pleasing can make us feel exhausted, used, and have a lost sense of self. Moreover, we could put ourselves into a position of violating an FAR or being injured on the job. Fortunately, there are many ways to say no. We've included a handout for your reference. We hoped you enjoyed this brief discussion and examination of boundaries from Jumpseat Therapy. Keeping flexible boundaries means regular reassessment to make sure your actions align with your values and goals. For more information and resources, visit activemindcounseling.com.